Mr President. Concerning the casus belli, on the verge of outright victory over ISIS in Syria, can anybody explain to the world why Assad would contemplate chemical bombing his own people and risk international opposition and even attack? The Assad government would have nothing to gain at this juncture by the actions of which they stand accused. Regarding the Western reaction, virtue bombing by Western powers without proof of Syrian government involvement will bring no good. The only people who are celebrating at the moment are the supporters of ISIS and other Islamist groups who oppose Assad. The clear lack of any long-term strategy in the Middle East and experience of repeated failures in Iraq and Libya do not bode well at this time. This is hellish stupidity by the misguided, misinformed governments of the UK, the USA and France. I'll remind you that before this awful proxy war kicked off, that Syria was one of the very few countries in the Middle East where religious minorities and women were respected in practice and in law. The neo-con hawks once again have made the wrong call with terrible consequences for the many.
Mr President, thank you very much for updating the Chamber on your conversation and your briefing for the British Prime Minister. I know that the British Prime Minister is extremely grateful for not only the European but the international support shown for these actions that were deemed necessary. Now, all of us, many of us, would have wished that the solution could be achieved through diplomatic aims. We wish it could have been achieved through United Nations. But we all know that Russia has vetoed no less than 6 times any attempt to address this issue at the UN. Does that mean it is time for inaction? No. What it means is actually that we have to use this in a targeted way. And the American President, the French President and the British Prime Minister have been quite clear that this is not about regime change. It is not about taking sides in a civil war. It is a limited action making sure that we reinstate international norms and rules regarding the use of chemical weapons. The previous speakers have already mentioned how hideous and heinous these crimes are, the use of chemical weapons against your populations. We have not been able to solve this purely diplomatically up to now, but now we have sent a message from the international community. Limited action based on stopping the use of chemical weapons. Nothing more, nothing less. And let us all now be clear, whatever our views about other issues, and whatever our views about those other issues that divide us in this House, that the use of chemical weapons, whether on the battlefield against civilian populations or used to poison individuals, is something that we should all take very seriously. And we all know that there are norms that have to be respected, and these norms have been crossed and ignored by the Syrian regime. So let us, as the international community, as well as within the European Union, let us continue to cooperate and let us be clear, but now make sure that we pursue the diplomatic channel with even more vigour, with even more determination, having sent a signal that the use of chemical weapons is clearly unacceptable. Can I thank colleagues from across the Chamber, from across the political spectrum, for their support and the support that they have shown to the national leaders who are involved in this strike. Thank you.
Honourable Verhofstadt.
President, let me very clear, we support without any reservation the targeted strikes against the chemical facilities in Syria. And I know there are some people who are making the comparison with the Iraq war. Well, I continue to believe that the Iraq war was a mistake based on a lie. I was Prime Minister of one of the only European countries that openly opposed that war, and I'm still proud of that attitude. But I think that his intervention in Syria is fully justified, because it's a regime that has used chemical weapons against its own population, against women, against children, and not for the first time. It's already 73 times that different types of chemicals have been used. So you can only say about the Assad regime that it is genocidal and that it has no legitimacy anymore. So I never agree with Donald Trump, for once when he said and he tweeted, Assad is a monster, I agree with him. At the same time, we have also to be clear, and that has to be our second message, that is that precision attacks against Syrian military facilities are not a strategy for peace and will not end in this. And I have to tell you that I'm also sad when I see the outcome of the Foreign Affairs Council of today. 11 pages with very general condemnations and very general statements of principle. And I think we cannot continue like that. We need more than general condemnations. We need a real European strategy in this Syrian tragedy. And I think there are three key elements for such a strategy. The first is to engage all constructive forces in the region for a new initiative. And this new initiative must be a roadmap to a new Syria that is democratic, that is neutral, and that is respectful for the different religions that are practiced in that country. And finally, I think also that we need to launch new sanctions to increase the costs of those who have an irresponsible behavior, of all those who violate agreed ceasefires, undermine peace efforts, and use these criminal chemical weapons as happened the last weeks. I think we cannot abandon Syria and leave it in the hands of Assad. And it concerns our own security, and that's the reason why we need to urge the Council to come forward with a consistent strategy towards Syria. Thank you.
Onorevole Bay.
Monsieur le Président, chers collègues, dans la nuit de vendredi à samedi, la France, s'alignant sur les positions bellicistes américaines et britanniques, a effectué une série de frappes sur le territoire syrien. Ces actes de guerre ont été décidés unilatéralement, sans aucun mandat de l'ONU, en violation totale des règles du droit international et sans même la moindre discussion, ni dans le cadre des Nations Unies, ni dans le cadre des parlements nationaux. Emmanuel Macron a justifié ces frappes par un présumé usage d'armes chimiques contre des populations civiles de la part du régime de Bachar el-Assad. Soyons clairs, si des armes au chlore ont été utilisées, cela constituerait bien sûr une ignominie, à condamner sans la moindre réserve. Mais à ce stade, pas l'ombre d'un début de preuve n'a été apporté à l'appui de ces accusations. Il aurait été normal de laisser l'enquête se dérouler, puisque les experts de l'OIAC devaient justement se rendre sur place samedi. Ceux qui aujourd'hui parlent de lignes rouges se font pourtant très discrets lorsqu'il s'agit par exemple des massacres des populations yéménites par le régime saoudien. En outre, on peut légitimement s'interroger quel aurait donc été l'intérêt du pouvoir syrien d'utiliser de telles armes alors que, grâce notamment à l'action décisive de la Russie, 95% du territoire syrien est désormais libéré du joug de l'État islamique et que les factions islamistes qui occupaient la Ghouta orientale ont été désormais totalement anéanties. Quoi que l'on puisse penser du régime syrien, cette intervention n'a aucune véritable efficacité militaire. Des dizaines de millions d'euros ont ainsi été dépensés pour une heure de feu d'artifice. Il n'y a aucun intérêt stratégique non plus à cette coûteuse opération. S'agit-il sans doute d'une action de communication, d'une tentative peut-être de revenir dans le jeu et de pouvoir s'asseoir à la table des négociations? N'oublions pas que c'est pourtant notre aveuglement dogmatique depuis plusieurs années qui nous en a exclus. Mais de la même manière que les actions militaires occidentales menées dans le passé contre l'Irak de Saddam Hussein ou contre la Libye de Kadhafi ont abouti à renforcer les islamistes et à semer la guerre d'abord et le chaos ensuite, ces frappes contre la Syrie ne correspondent ni aux intérêts des nations européennes, ni aux intérêts du peuple syrien. En effet, les pays d'Europe doivent veiller à la stabilisation de cette partie du globe qui se situe à proximité immédiate de notre continent. En Syrie, tout affaiblissement du régime de Damas permettra aux islamistes de prospérer, en particulier ceux qui sont soutenus par l'Arabie saoudite. L'éradication totale de l'ensemble des groupes djihadistes doit rester notre priorité, car ce seul objectif correspond à la fois aux intérêts européens et aux intérêts syriens.
Thank you. Chemical warfare is always totally unacceptable, and it's very difficult to imagine what a person could bombard his own population with chemical weapons. This is totally unimaginable and it should not have happened ever. And finally, what we need now is that the Organisation for Prohibition of Chemical Weapons does get a strong, a comprehensive mandate that is able to work in Syria, and that such situation is not repeated, because international law needs to be upheld, and indeed Russia needs to finally give up its blockade at the UN institutions. And all the suffering that we've seen for so many years in Syria, it needs to end. It has lasted way too long. I believe many opportunities have also been missed in the past to find, or at least to have an opportunity to find a solution. The international community, and especially the European Union, must do more to stop this war and must develop a political strategy, because airstrikes will not end this war. A solution can only be political and diplomatic. It cannot be made by weapons. And I think it's really important that we indeed speak more with one European voice, because if we speak with one voice, we have much more weight behind us. We are much stronger if we speak with one voice and not if we speak with 28 different voices. So I'm really hoping that we will see increased efforts now to end this war, to stop the suffering of so many millions of women, children, men, so many people who had to flee, who are still stuck in Syria. This needs to be our focus of attention. Thank you.
Honourable Zimmer.
Sorry, Herr Präsident. Meine Fraktion und auch ich, wir werden in diese Darstellung dessen, was am vergangenen Wochenende stattgefunden hat,